Hey everyone, and welcome! Today, we're going to completely break down the NCERT chapter on structural organization in animals. This is a super important one for your NEET prep, so let's get you ready to master it. So let's take a look at our game plan for today. We're going to start with the absolute basics, the levels of organization, then dive deep into the 4 animal tissues. After that, we'll see it all in action with the earthworm, cockroach, and frog, and finally, we'll wrap up with a quick-fire revision session to lock it all in. Sound good? Let's go. So first things first, we need to understand the big picture, how life is organized. You can think of it like a massive construction project, starting with the tiniest blueprints and ending with a fully functional building. Okay, so imagine you're building with Legos, right? Individual cells, they're your basic bricks. When you group similar bricks together, you form tissues. Those are like the pre-built sections of a wall. Then you combine those sections to form organs, like the whole wall itself. And finally, all the walls and rooms work together as organ systems to create a complete functioning house. This whole setup creates a really smart division of labor, making the entire organism incredibly efficient. All right, now for the really juicy stuff, the actual building materials of the animal body. This section on the 4 fundamental tissue types is probably one of the most critical, high-yield topics for your NEET exam, so you'll want to pay close attention here. So that's the official textbook definition, but what does it actually mean? Let's unpack it. A tissue isn't just a random jumble of cells. The key phrases here are similar cells, intercellular substances, and specific function. It means they come from the same place, they're held together by a kind of biological cement, and they work together as a team to get one particular job done. Kicking things off, we have epithelial tissue, or epithelium. You know, the name itself gives you a huge clue. Epi means upon, and filial means to rest, and that's exactly what it does. This tissue always rests on top of another tissue, creating all the linings and coverings in the body. Okay, if there are 2 things you absolutely have to remember about epithelial tissue for your exam, it's these. First, it's avascular, which is a fancy way of saying it has no blood vessels. And second, its cells are packed super tightly together, like bricks in a wall. So you might be wondering, how does it get food and oxygen? Well, it depends entirely on the connective tissue right below it to act as its supply line. This is a classic concept examiners love to ask about. And this is just a perfect example of a huge theme in biology: form follows function. Think about it. If you need stuff to pass through easily, like gases in your lungs or nutrients in your kidneys, you'd want a super thin single layer, right? That's simple epithelium. But if you need to protect yourself from scrapes and chemicals, you'd want a thick, tough, multi-layered barrier. And that's exactly what compound epithelium, like your skin, provides. See? The structure perfectly matches the job. Okay, moving on to our next building material, connective tissue. As its name pretty much screams, it's all about connecting, supporting, and linking other tissues together. And its defining feature is a ton of intercellular matrix. It's the total opposite of that tightly packed epithelial tissue we just talked about. Now, this is where your mind might get a little blown. I mean, look at how different these tissues are. How can liquid blood and solid bone possibly be in the same family? It seems crazy, right? But they are. And it's because they all share that one fundamental job. They all support, link, and connect the various parts of the body. And that brings us to our final 2 tissue types. I like to think of these as the action and reaction duo. You've got muscular tissue, made of these amazing contractile fibers, which handles all movement. And then you have nervous tissue, made of neurons, which is the body's master control system, coordinating every single thing that happens. Okay, so we've covered all this theory, which is great, but how does it all come together in a living, breathing animal? Let's check out our 3 key case studies from the NCERT syllabus and see these tissues in action. We'll hit the high-yield points for each one. First up, the humble earthworm. Here's what you need to lock in for your exam. 1. It has a segmented body. 2. Its circulatory system is closed, which is way more efficient because the blood stays inside vessels. 3. It gets rid of waste using these cool coiled tubes called nephridia. And 4. It's a hermaphrodite, meaning it has both male and female reproductive organs, a really key adaptation. All right, now for the cockroach, and I want you to really pay attention to the contrasts here. Unlike the earthworm, it has a hard outer skeleton, and its circulatory system is open. The blood just kind of sloshes around, bathing the organs directly. For breathing, no lungs. It uses a unique system of air tubes called a tracheal system. And for excretion, you've got to remember this name, Malpighian tubules. These are all classic must-know differences for NEET. And finally, the frog. Let's nail down its key systems. For respiration, it's a triple threat. It can breathe through its skin, the lining of its mouth, and its lungs. Amazing, right? Now, for the heart, remember this number, 3. It has a 3-chambered heart with 2 atria and 1 ventricle. I can almost guarantee you'll see a question on that. All right, deep breath. We're heading into the home stretch with a super fast revision session. This is where we make sure all those key facts are stuck in your brain for exam day. Let's do this. This table right here, this is gold. Seriously, take a screenshot, write it down, whatever you need to do to memorize it. It is the perfect way to compare the 4 tissues at a glance. And here's a cool connection for you. Notice nervous tissue comes from the ectoderm. That makes total sense because the ectoderm is the outermost embryonic layer, and it's what develops into both our skin and our entire nervous system. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time because it is that important. What's the magic number for a frog's heart? 3. 2 atria, 1 ventricle. 3 chambers. This little fact pops up all the time. Please don't forget it. I love this quote directly from your textbook because it perfectly captures a massive idea in biology, one that examiners absolutely love to test. An animal's anatomy is perfectly tailored to its diet and its lifestyle. Form always follows function. And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? Back to that huge idea, form follows function. From the frog's skin that can actually breathe to its intestine being just the right length for a carnivorous diet, every single structure is an elegant solution to the puzzle of survival. So as you keep studying, always ask yourself, why? Why is it built that way? And the answer will almost always lead you right back to its environment and its way of life.